Hello there. I want to talk about the reality of an amateur photographer, or reality and amateur photography. And the reason I want to talk about it is the camera that we're using today. This is a Nikon D50. This camera was first introduced, best I can find, around April of 2005. It's 19 plus years old, the technology in this camera. It's a 6.1 megapixel CCD sensor. It's Nikon's DX sensor, which is their crop sensor. Um, it's got a Nikon Nikkor autofocus lens of a 50 millimeter f1.8 D series lens. This camera came, when I purchased it, with the camera body, the camera lens, a UV filter on the front of it, two spare memory cards. Well, I'm sorry, a memory card and a spare memory card, two memory cards. A remote infrared shutter control, which I don't think works on this camera. I think the guy accidentally left it in the bag. It came in one of the very small shoulder sling bags that will carry a camera body and a lens, a Tamrac bag. It came with three batteries, a Nikon lens pen, and a Nikon strap, which I will promptly remove. I don't use camera straps. So basically, I got a full kit. I paid $15 for this camera. And this camera prompted this video, and we will talk a little bit more about that after we take some images. But right now, what I have, let me see if I can show it to you, is I have these four trees. There's actually 5 or 6 of them. A few of them are in back. But you see that right here, you've got a dead tree that's fallen and laid in the middle of these trees here. And the light is coming through that. Now, I don't know what it is about this scene that has drawn me to it, except maybe the way that the light is coming through it. But we're going to take this shot. Now, I have the camera in portrait mode. It does not have live view. It doesn't shoot video. It's just a camera. But that's all I need. So let me check my settings, because the light changes in here, and I may have to adjust a bit. Alright, I'm at f5.6, which is, in my opinion, most cameras that you run into, most lenses, a lot of photographers will say f8. But if you read up on the research, the majority of lenses perform sharper at f5.6 than pretty much any other f-stop. So I've got it at f5.6. It's at 1/10 of a second, and that's the shutter speed. And ISO is the base ISO, which is 200 for this camera. And I have it, or I believe, because I've been yakking now, and it might lose the setting, but I have it on a 2-second timer. And I already pre-focused, but This doesn't have back button focus nor any of that. So I'm gonna press the button and it will focus again. Okay, I took that without the 2-second timer. So we're gonna let this wind go away and chill out a bit. And then we're gonna take this shot again with a 2-second timer. Because I'm at 1/10 of a second, I have a 50mm lens. Ideally, I want 1/50th, 1/60th, 1/100th of a second to stop motion from for a still photograph. So two-second timer. And I'll put that on the screen if I think it's worth showing. All right, I think this is the last image I'm going to be able to pull out of this area, and that's okay. As an amateur photographer, or even a professional photographer, you can only do as much as you can with what it is that you have available. Right now, in this area, I could only pull 2 shots that I think are worth anything. This is a very small area. It's about twice the length of a football field, something like that, of woods in the middle of the town. But what I have if I can, let me tilt it up. You see right here, this fallen log, it's laid down in the bush, and it's got all of this fungus and everything growing all over it. Now, I'm taking this shot in portraiture, and I'm going to get a portion of this tree here in the shot. It can't be helped. I have a 50mm lens. There's nothing I can do except to frame the thing the best that I can, taking into account that I can't really get rid of that. So what I want to do, I'm at f11 this time, because I want as guaranteed of a depth of sharpness throughout the photograph as I can get. I'm at f11, I'm at 1.3 seconds, and we're going to run a 2-second timer. Let me check my exposure again. Okay, that's perfect. We're going to take this shot. All right. Got a twig or something on me, hold on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it over to the other side just a bit over this way and try to take another point of view with this. I'm probably going to stay in portraiture mode, but I may change to landscape, so stand by for that. I will post both of the images now. Okay, so now let's talk about the reality of being an amateur photographer. There are 2 pretty distinct realities that you should come to grips with as an amateur photographer. One is that most of us, if we're amateur photographers, we cannot afford the latest and greatest equipment. We can't afford thousands of dollars invested in our gear. If you can, do it. It's worth it. Just flat out. But honestly, if we're not making a living with the photography gear, or if we're not making enough money to support the hobby of amateur photography through photography, then we really cannot afford to spend thousands of dollars on a camera body and lenses and everything else that goes along with it. So that's a reality. Most of us have got to budget our income for other things, and we can't spend it on, as much as we would like to, on a hobby. But the other part of that, the second reality, is good news, and that is that you don't have to. This is a 6.1 megapixel camera. Okay? It's 19 years old, the technology in it. The images you will see from this camera, or have already seen from this camera, speak for themselves. Okay? Irregardless of the fact that, this humble photographer took them. Okay? But the thing of it is, if you stop and think about it, most amateur photographers, where are you going to share your photographs? Because honestly, I think a lot of amateur photographers don't share. They do it for the love of the photography, and they're not really worried about displaying it, or they might not display it because they don't think that it's worth someone else's time to view it or whatever. But for me, sharing my photography is really a big part of why I love photography. It's an art form. So, where do you share that at? Well, most of the time, some kind of social media. Facebook, Instagram, what is that? Pinterest. There's probably 10 more that I don't know about because I'm an old fuddy-duddy. Okay? But that's where we share our photography. We share it in digital format. We're not printing big prints or anything like that. Very few of us probably have a photo album, an actual physical one. We've got a digital one on our computer, or we've got one of those little photo things that, picture frames that, has a slideshow on it, that kind of deal. But it's all digital. And a lot of the sites that you post digital photographs on, they're going to crop it. They're going to compress it. They're going to do all sorts of things to that picture in the first place before they ever get it up there. But honestly, so that quality that you think you're getting out of a really high-grade camera that you spent thousands of dollars on, it's degraded a lot of times on social media before it ever hits that media. And so the thing is for things like that, for internet, for web photography, 6 megapixels, 8 megapixels, 10 megapixels, they work really well in that media. And so you don't really need anything special, just something nice. This is a nice DSLR. It feels like a camera. It looks like a camera, a real camera. It's got a really nice lens. By the way, I used a circular polarizer on those last two shots. But I didn't use it on the tree because the sun was backlighting that tree, and into the sun, polarizers don't work really well. They need the light coming from the side, which is where it was coming from in this instance. But, I mean, it's a nice camera, detachable lens. If I want to, I can put different lenses on it. I can use the filters. I can play and have fun learning and growing as a photographer without spending so much money that I'm sorry I spent that at the end of the month when the bills start rolling in. And for general photography, still photography like what I'm doing, portraiture, that kind of thing, a camera like this works just fine. Now, if you're doing something specialized like trying to shoot the little songbirds like I like to shoot and stuff like that, I do that with old equipment, and my pictures aren't as great as somebody that has the latest and greatest, and I've accepted it. That's the way it is, because with the lens and the camera that I have, that's the best I'm going to be able to get. And I'm okay with it because I love taking pictures of those little birds. Okay? And nobody's hiring me for anything like that. There's not a digital magazine that's going to get my pictures and do anything with them. I'm just an amateur. I'm just someone that loves to do photography. And I love the little birds, so I take pictures of them with what I've got. But I mean, if you're going to do, like I said, if you want to be a professional, then you're going to need to go buy professional equipment. That's the way that it is. But as an amateur, you can get by with a lot less than what you think you can, and have a slamming good time. All right, bless you. Happy photography. I'll talk to you later.